Did somebody say homemade soft pretzels? I think you did. Today's a great episode. We're going to be making plain everything in Za'atar pretzels. Super easy recipe. Anyone could do it. Stick around and enjoy.
And really, I want to kind of give a quick breakdown just what I'm making versus what I consider a Philadelphia soft pretzel. But we have these amazing Philly pretzel factories. I mean, it's almost like a gas station. I don't want to say McDonald's, but they're everywhere. I have two different ones in less than 10 minutes from my house, if that says anything. These are not the pretzels we're making today. And in fairness, credit where it's due, I've tried unsuccessfully to make this version of a pretzel. I think the one we're making actually does taste better. There's a lot more sugar, a lot more butter. This is almost like pizza dough. It's just flour, water, yeast, a bit of salt, maybe a bit of sugar, but it's all about like the way they cook it and the way that the dough is kind of manipulated, if you will. So anyway, this is the Philly soft pretzel. There's nothing like eating this hot. I can just say you'll have to trust me, take my word. I bought these about 10 minutes ago and they taste so good. I'd say normally I'm a brown mustard guy when it comes to this type of pretzel, but when they're hot, they're so good to just eat as they are. That's kind of the basic breakdown. I would say, this is a traditional Philadelphia soft pretzel. What we're making today would be more like a mall soft pretzel or a Bavarian soft pretzel, or even, dare I say, like Auntie Anne's, definitely not as greasy or gross.
One of my favorite parts of this recipe is how easy it is to make. So if any of you have ever made bread, sometimes you got to add a little flour, a little moisture. It's, kind of a game. This comes out perfect every time, and the bowl will be almost completely clean. It's amazing. So just one more reason you should definitely make this.
There's nothing wrong with either version of pretzel. I think it's just what you're in the mood for. The homemade ones do take, we got to use yeast. We got to wait for the bread, the dough to rise. It's a process. These, I literally went, I was a 15-minute round trip to get these and come back home, which is pretty awesome. And these are like $1 a piece, which is also great. So if you are in the Philadelphia area, definitely check them out. They're worth it. If you haven't had this kind of a version of a soft pretzel, highly recommend it. Okay, enough talking. Let's get back to our video.
So what you didn't hear me say or put on the screen, there was just too much going on, is I take the total dough and divide by either 6 or 8. And I say 6 or 8, just depends how big I want to make the pretzels. But it is simple, just put the whole thing on and do some division. You then see I'm rolling these out, and I kind of do this hand motion where I'm working against my own hands and try to get this kind of log shape. So one thing I didn't mention yet is we're making half plain, and then a couple of these are kind of everything bagel seasoning, and then a couple are going to have Za'atar seasoning. Za'atar is a Middle Eastern spice. It has oregano, sumac, sesame seeds, and salt. It honestly smells a little bit like pizza seasoning, if you will. So I'm trying a bit of a new technique here where I actually make this little ball shape and I put the seasoning inside and then kind of roll it out. Again, a bit of an experiment because either way we're going to put the seasoning on the outside. And then you can see here, I just go back to essentially lengthening the log as long as possible before making the pretzel shape. Now I'm just going to say this. My pretzels do not necessarily look beautiful or pretty. I'm okay with that because the taste is, it's a 10 if out of 10, it would be a 12 out of 10. They are phenomenal. Everyone that's tried them absolutely goes nuts. They just taste insanely good. That being said, if you want to really learn how to make a proper pretzel shake, I would recommend another YouTube channel because I can do it okay. It's passable, but as you can see here, these are kind of not the prettiest pretzel shapes you've ever seen. And I'll say for my style, that fits me pretty well. So it's definitely enough to get the job done. So usually by the last pretzel, I decide I'm tired of twisting them up and I decide I'm going to make some rivets. They're essentially 1 inch long pieces. Functions the exact same way. They're just small bite-sized ones. And those will be the Za'atar blend for today's purposes. So the next step is boiling I'm going to say potatoes, boiling the pretzels. They get a dip in some water with baking soda for just 5 seconds or so. And it's as simple as that. Now you'll see here, this one became detached. Thumbs down. That does happen almost every time I've made this recipe for at least 1 or 2 of the pretzels. But you saw I just kind of pinched the ends there, and that really does seem to solve the problem. So again, they're not the prettiest or the most perfect pretzels, and after this part they puff up so they kind of look even worse. But if you have a piece detached, it's pretty easy to fix. And then with our rivets, we're just throwing them in. Again, same process, just a few seconds. And you can see some of the spices are kind of coming out now on those. We pull them out, and that's kind of phase 2. The next step is we are going to add our spices, so our seasoning. So we have a little melted butter that's going to help everything adhere. And you saw there I have some pretzel salt. I think that was taken from actual frozen, like Cooper pretzels you buy in the market. But you want really big pieces of salt because otherwise they will melt into the dough. This pretzel salt works great, and we like to use a lot. So you can see I'm just applying the salt. We'll do a very similar tactic with the everything seasoning, which is again kind of moisten the pretzel and apply. For baking purposes, 450 for about 9 minutes. You can see are getting nice and puffy here. You want to see the pretzels come out slightly brown. And again, it only takes 8 or 9 minutes. And they will be fantastic. So our very final step in the process is to take some of that leftover melted butter we have and just apply it to the pretzels. And that's it. If we wanted to put a little more salt on here, we could, but pretty much done and ready to enjoy. These everything ones are just crazy good. You can see how amazing they look and they taste even better. No doubt about it. And last but not least, our Za'atar bites. These came out also amazing, a little different tasting, great oregano. But I was super happy with everything in the end. I mean, look at that tray. Fantastic. It makes me want to make a whole fresh batch right now. So if it wasn't obvious, these are absolutely amazing. I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me eat them for 2 straight minutes, although initially I was going to. I could just say you want to eat these as hot as you can handle them. They taste amazing straight out of the oven. And aside from that, it's a pretty simple recipe, honestly. You just need a mixer. Everything comes together really easy. You could use any sort of spices or seasonings you really want. And kind of the sky's the limit. So, hope you try it. Hope you enjoyed the video. And hopefully, we'll see you at the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Have a wonderful day.